Hey gang, Kai and Ted with you today. Hey, we want to take this opportunity to show you the features of the Scout Hammock Combi. We've got it set up here. Now remember that in our naming scheme of our products, Combi in the hammock families means that these are complete sleep systems. So they come with a tarp and they come with the hammock and mosquito net and a slot for a mat, as well as a full suspension kit. So let's use that as the intro, and then we're going to go in close and Ted can give you a feel for what we've got going with the Scout Hammock Combi. Ted, here you go.
Scout Hammock Combi is a very traditional sort of tree-to-tree body hang. And that gives you just a very simple structure to work with. Everything's all integrated. We've got like Kai was saying, we've got the tarp, we've got the hammock, we've got the bug netting all in one setup. And it just gives you a complete shelter. When you set this thing up, you are completely locked down. Don't have to worry about the bugs, don't have to worry about the rain, don't have to worry about what is underneath. You're all set to go. But the Scout Hammock Combi, although it's a very classic architecture, has a whole bunch of features in it that really make it user-friendly when you're out in the field. And that's why, well, it's classic Exped. That's what we do. And I want to start out with the suspension system. We've shown videos about how to set this up, but basically, along with the webbing that wraps around the tree at the top, we run this down into the button cord or slit cord that you can see the elastic right here is notched through. And those button holes right there basically give me an infinite range of adjustment all the way down the cord, and give you also the ability to pitch it between a really far span on the trees. Or you can go ahead and pinch it a little bit closer, but it's really simple to go ahead and do the adjustments under your carabiner. Go ahead, find the slot you want to lock it into, a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Easy to adjust on both sides. So you've got the split cord or slit cord on either side, with the webbing that wraps around the tree, keeps things safe. Then you go ahead with what we call the drip clip carabiner system, and that's a pretty important feature. Obviously, if I run my hand all the way to the top, you can see that any cordage that's on the outside might collect rain, and as the rain moves down this particular cord, hopefully some of it drips off already, but if it hits the carabiner, it has an opportunity to drip off, but it also has the gasket right here to keep any water from actually hitting the hammock itself, so it keeps you all dry and intact. The bungee cord that you see along the top edge right here is just designed to hold the whole mosquito net up and off of your face. You don't have to have it, you can unclip it very easily. The reason we use bungee on that is that if I actually want to sit in this and camp, not in the shelter, but just sit in the camp, I can take the whole thing and just sit on top of it without it destroying anything. Or let it go and it pops everything back up. One of the things that happens on the mosquito netting, if you want to get a little more volume so that when you're inside you've got more fit space, just grab yourself a twig or a stick or you can grab a trekking pole. And you'll notice that these black bands that are right down here are basically set up so you could either tie an anchor out to something if you weren't using the tarp, or you can also go ahead and take a stick. It's got a sleeve in all three positions. I'm going to just take that and slide that right on in there. That way I'm not carrying the weight of a pole or anything like that. I can just use whatever's around. And you can see it gives you dramatically more volume on the inside. I could put another one up here at the head area. Mainly it's a visual space and keeps anything from sitting right directly on your face. Then when we get into the actual hammock part of itself, you've got a full-length zipper. It runs the full length right here so that if you accidentally pitched one end a little bit too high, you can put your head at that end or that end, no problem. It's a double slider zipper. But it opens it up to the inside, and most people don't use hammocks with a mat. We like you to use a hammock with a mat, mainly because it gives you insulation from the bottom. And in temperatures like today, a cold night, you're going to definitely want to have a mat to give you some insulation underneath. And most people that have tried using mats on the inside of hammocks find that they're constantly wrestling with that hammock moving around. But we incorporate a sleeve on the inside that allows you to go ahead and slide the mat right on inside right there. So now I've got insulation underneath. Slide that, and I don't have to jockey with that thing all night long. It's right in place. And I've got sitting bag already set to go. I can go ahead and, with the reflective cords on the zipper, slide that slider to wherever I want to, and now I'm locked in. Don't have to worry about the bugs at all. It's a really slick system. If I wasn't using a mat, I could take clothing, extra clothing that I might have, shove that underneath. Shoot, I could even stuff leaves in there. Anything you want to. The double layer bottom also prevents bugs from biting through if you're using it in more tropical conditions where you don't need the added insulation. So, really slick system for keeping you're well insulated on the bottom. Put the mat on the inside, bug netting over the top, and a very full coverage tarp. Right now I have the tarp set up in a fairly spread out configuration, but you could also, if the wind was blowing a little bit and you want a little bit tighter, you could draw it down a little bit more, or you could just pitch it down lower. I like to have it a little bit higher so I can stand underneath it. It's really comfortable that way. I do want to show you on the tarp itself, all the seams, if I point over here, all the seams are fully taped. So you're totally waterproof fabric, waterproof seams, don't have to worry about water coming through there. But pitching a tarp over your hammock is oftentimes a big challenge for people, and I just want to point out Exped's line tensioning mechanisms. I'm going to go ahead and slack this off just a little bit so you can see what's going on here. We use a line lock tensioner at the top, and at the other far end, I'm going to grab it over here. This is something we use on all Exped tarps. We use something called the claw. It's a claw hook, and I can wrap that around anything that I find out there, a stake, a tree, whatever else, and I can go ahead and just take it and snap it into place, just like that. Slip it around the tree, no knots tied. Then I come right back to the tarp. I grab the tensioner, and I'm going to go ahead and cinch that right past Kai's head. Just lock that in. I get a really tight tarp, get a really tight pitch, no knots, and I'm set to go. That's the Scout Hammock Combi. It's one of my favorite hammocks just because of the versatility. I like using a real traditional style hammock, and I should also make one other note for people that are really, really tall. This has an incredible amount of length. You've got almost 7 feet worth of length there to work with no tension on the head or the foot area, so it's a really, really comfortable hammock to hang in. Have a good night. Enjoy your hang.